Hello class. This last part 4 of chapter 39 will be short. We have one last slide. Let me load it up for you here to go over, and we'll be looking at financing. How is a corporation financed? So there are two devices that are used to finance a corporation. The two are A, stock, and B, bonds. Right, so stock. What is stock? Stock represents ownership or an equity interest in a corporation, and there are, primarily, two types of stock. I mean, there's several other types, but the two I'd like you to focus on. There may not be several types, but there are probably other types in addition to these two I have here on the screen. You have common stock and you have preferred stock. All right, common stock is what you hear us discussing in the news because we follow what happens on the stock market. And so in the stock market, typically what's being sold, what their quote, when they give you a quote for the Dow Jones, generally they are telling you what's the volume of sales of common stock for the day. All right. So what is common stock? Common stock refers to stock that shareholders own, and connected with the stock are voting rights. All right. So shareholders that own common stock can vote, can participate in the corporation's business. However, common stock is the last stock that will receive repayment or a return on their investment, should there ever be an opportunity to repay or make a return on the investment. Preferred stock, I just want you to have a contrasting type of stock, all right? Preferred stock has no voting rights. So if you buy preferred stock, you're not going to be able to participate on an issue such as to elect the board of directors. You're not going to be able to vote on proposals made at the annual meeting. All right, so you have no voting rights if you own preferred stock. However, in return for that, you're given a little priority. You have priority to receive repayment or a return on your investment. You're ahead of the common stock. So that's the trade-off that's made there. So stock. That's one way that a corporation finances its business, to sell stock. The second way for a corporation to finance its business is to issue bonds. Bonds represent borrowing that a corporation has done. So instead of issuing stock and having shareholders that can participate in the corporate business, what a corporation does is to sell off bonds with the promise to repay those bonds sometime in the future under whatever terms are offered in connection with the bonds. All right. There is a market for bonds as well. You will see that if you were, to go and explore what kind of investments you can make. So people do buy bonds. Now, between the two, though, stock and bonds, you can already probably sense that there's a higher risk when you invest in stock than there is when you invest in bonds. There's a promise of repayment when you have bonds, which is what's tied to the more limited riskiness. It's more of an assured investment if you're buying bonds. All right. So this should bring us now to the end of the chapter. You have all the you've gone over all the concepts in the chapter, and I just want to remind you that with each chapter I have posted in advance the list of terms that I am going to hold you accountable for. And so you can go to the module 3, I believe it is, for chapter 39, and look for that list of terms. Use your glossary, use your reading to help you to formulate an understanding, a better understanding of each term. What you should strive for is to be able to paraphrase what you take in from your textbook and be able to define each term in your own words, be able to explain each term in your own words. I will test on vocabulary when I give you a quiz or an exam, So I want to tell you in advance so you're not trying to cram this as we get closer to our first quiz. All right, so I'm going to sign off now, and we will pick up with our next chapter, which is chapter 40, and where we will be looking at more of the operations of a corporation.